Alright guys, this trek into DIY tech is going to be the improvised phone charging station. So, as some of you know, Hurricane Ian just came through here last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't even know anymore. Lost track of time. But anyway, the point is a lot of things happened during the hurricane, a lot of things happened after the hurricane. One of which is nobody's got power. Sometimes you're out of water. But the thing is, these days everybody uses their cell phones for communication and various other things. And so, what happens when you don't have power, right? Eventually, your phone dies, especially if you have your screen settings are way up so you can see the screen and stuff like that. Your phone dies, and no communication, no entertainment, which at times like these, helps you keep your sanity, right? So we put together this improvised charging station real quick, so we charged a few people's phones and other things on it. So I'll show you what that looks like real quick. So we'll go inside and check that out. Okay, if you guys have a generator or some other device like that, we didn't have that available. And also, the thing that happens is if you have a generator, you still may not have gas available to run the generator. The thing that I did before the storm came through, or as it was approaching, have this. This is a charger that I use for the trolling motor battery. So, trolling motor battery was there. I just happened to have one there for the bass boat that we got recently to go out and film nature. Charge that up, and also charge this battery. That battery is an AGM battery, which is a gel cell, and I use that for robotics projects, because difference is, so this has open vented cells. If you puncture this, the acid water that is in there will come out. With the gel cell, if you puncture this, it's gel in there and it's sealed, right? So this gel is less likely to go all over the place and cause issues. So that's the difference between the two. And there's also a difference in the way that you charge those two. With this one, I'm going to show you in a minute what the setup is, and then you'll understand. There's also settings on here for the different batteries. So this is, they call the regular lead acid battery standard, and the gel cell is AGM. So be aware of that if you're charging. And then there's a regular gel cell, which that's a whole another chemistry. This one is an AGM. So it's a variant of the gel cells. But anyway, all this information I'm giving you here, we had to use this because it was an emergency situation. I don't recommend doing any of the stuff that I'm doing here unless it's, you use your own discernment. Again, I'm just showing you what we did in this situation, and follow all possible precautions that you can, because these things can be a hazard if you don't do stuff correctly. For the AGM, and I'm going to show you why I had to do this way. All right. So I know what you're thinking. If the lead acid battery is easier to charge, why didn't you use that? Okay. In our particular situation, we didn't have a generator. Power was out. The only place that we could charge stuff was in the car. But you don't want to run the car solely to charge the phones, because eventually you're going to run out of gas and we have to go pick up supplies and stuff like that. Oh, we have to go out and pick up supplies anyway, right? So they, National Guard set up the street, but there was a line. So every time we went to go pick up ice, food and water, they also had tarps. But anytime you went to go pick that up, you were in a line for a while. So I'm like, we're burning the gas anyway. This is what wound up happening. This handle became a critical part of the deal, because what I did was I took the inverter. So now this is a 400 watt inverter. You can't run everything off of it, but you can run enough to charge your phone and charge laptops, which is what this was originally for. We had this in the car so that when we were traveling, the boss could still work, because she works remotely. She could plug in the laptop. We got 2 outlets here and 2 USB ports. So what I did, so we have 18 gauge wires that go to an accessory plug. Now, this is where you have to be careful. And this is why you're like, why is the accessory plug in a Ziploc bag? Because we have connected the accessory plug in parallel with the battery wires. So every time we went out to go get supplies, I plugged this into the accessory port. We drove around, it charged the battery. After I unplug this, I stick it in here, because these contacts here are live, right? They go right to the battery. So now we're going to get a close-up of what precautions we need to take in order to keep this as safe as possible. Let me show you that. All right, so again, as I said, we have this guy is set up in parallel with our plug, but in the plug, so your car is going to have a fuse as well, but the accessory plug also has a fuse in it. So if anything goes wrong, in theory and theoretically, the fuse will blow, right? So if you did anything wrong, because the equipment doesn't do anything wrong on its own, it has to have help. So if you've got anything wrong there, fuse should take care of that. So important, fuses. Also, what I did was I plugged it into not the our car has a accessory ports in the back, so I used the back one instead of the front accessory port. That way, again, if it blows the fuse, hopefully all your accessory port and everything at the front of your car, where you would plug in, a little charger to charge your phone, will still operate, and you don't have to, you can mitigate how much goes wrong. So as I was charging in the car, I had this meter with me, because again, this battery, just to monitor things, the charge should only come to a certain level, and this is 18 gauge. So we've got 18 gauge, 18. Let me make sure. Oh, all right. So, all right, 12 gauge, 12 gauge. Okay. So we've got 12 gauge there. While it's going on, make sure nothing is heating up. The other important thing, this battery does not have, it has a molded indicator, plus and minus. This one actually has plus and minus molded in there in the plastic, and it also has a red and black plastic there to indicate positive and negative. So what I would do is periodically during the charging of the battery is I would use the meter to check, and I would charge up to 12.5, 12.56 or so, and just stop it there. And that would keep this guy going there. And so cool thing about this guy is it does have an indicator there to let you know when the charge is getting to a point where hopefully you can see the indicator there. So you see that it tells you what the charge is, so you don't over discharge the battery. But anyway, that was the setup there that we had, and it worked pretty well. Okay, as I said before, always try to be safe with everything you do. And again, this is just something that we put together because hey, we needed to charge our phones, some of the neighbors' phones. We even had a situation where somebody came over and they knew I did soldering and random stuff like that. So the fuses on the inverter that he used as a backup for his mom's oxygen concentrator went out. Things that you take for granted sometimes, right? The power is there, and there are people who are dependent on power for to live, basically. Life support systems. So wow, yeah, just and I was able to hook up a soldering iron to this setup here and solder some fuses into the inverter so that he could, you know, have a backup for his mom's oxygen concentrator. So that was a blessing to be able to do that. And hey guys, let's continue to pray for you know, as with every storm, hurricane, tornado, there are people who lost everything, and even, you know, and you know, and I'm meaning, you know, they lost loved ones, right? Because you can always replace a car, house. It would be, you know, it's difficult, but when you lose a loved one, that's, you can't do anything about that. So let's continue to pray for everyone. And, you know, thanks for spending time with me watching these videos. You know, as always, like, subscribe, and share. I feel funny saying that, but like, subscribe, and share. That will help these videos to continue to be listed by the algorithm, so people actually see them and hopefully get some use out of them. We also have a Patreon down below if you want to contribute that way, because there is no budget for what I'm doing right now. So, yeah, we'll see you in the next video.